The issue is that web AI crawlers crawl the site thousands of times, and almost nobody ever visits the site anymore. So nobody sees the ads or buys the product or does whatever your site makes money from. So people have tried to figure out what to do about it. And what Matthew Prince here, the CEO of Cloudflare, has done, since Cloudflare is so big, it distributes the content for about 20% of the web. Cloudflare is so big, they think they can shove Google around. And so right now, the only thing that exists is a thing to control this is a thing called robots.txt. And what you can do is disallow a folder, but if you do that, not only will it not be crawled by AI engines, it will not be crawled for normal search engines. So nobody will ever find your site. So Cloudflare has single-handedly defined a new protocol with different settings for robots.txt. So you can now have something that's allowed to search, but that's separate from allowing you to have AI for screening and separate to having AI for training or fine-tuning. So you can specify which of these permissions is allowed. And Cloudflare has just declared this by fiat and modified everybody's robots.txt file that they serve, which, I suppose that means that I have one of these. I wonder if they put it on because I'm behind Cloudflare, and I think I did define a robots.txt file. I wonder if they added this stuff to mine. They did. They added just comments to mine. They added comments to mine saying here, that's interesting. They added a robots.txt file to my page with this information in it. Anyway, so they added it to everybody's page, and they're trying to define this and trying to force Google into obeying it, and we'll see if this does any good. They also said they would put in something to stop the AI scanners from scanning your page if you want that turned on. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But this is a step forward, I suppose, in trying to control the consequences of AI for the web. So we'll see. So bulletproof hosting is a big issue. If you want to host something really horrible, like malware or child pornography or something like that, nobody will let you do that. If you put that kind of horrible stuff on a normal web host, as soon as they get complaints, they will just take it down because they would be legally liable. But there are bulletproof hosters, typically in Russia, that will just host anything, no matter how terrible it is. There doesn't seem to be any Russian law against it, and the other laws don't matter. And so they form these things. And so they formed one of these. They had a whole series of them, moved from place to place, hosting malware command and control servers and such. And they finally just shut it down. And they say they did an exit scam. They just shut it down and left without refunding any of their customers' money, which I must say is pretty mild as an exit scam goes. The main exit scam I hear about is rug pulls in cryptocurrency. And those steal large amounts of money, millions of dollars, because they get people to invest money and then they just steal the money and leave. Here, people just paid for service. So realistically, you probably paid for maybe a year of service and you only got a few months. So that's a pretty small theft, I would say. But anyway, when you're buying a patently illegal product like this, I think it is ridiculous to expect refunds if you don't get good service. When you're dealing with criminals, I think it's a bit silly, a bit precious to pretend they're performing an exit scam when they just shut down business and don't refund their money. They obviously aren't thinking about long-term business or repeat customers or anything. They're criminals. Anyway, all right. So there's a new version of the Spectre attack. The Spectre attack has been around for many years now. It comes from speculative execution in the processor. Modern processors, in order to run faster, they begin processing instructions beyond the one they're mainly working on. They start the first instruction, and while it's processing, they start like up to 10 or 20 more instructions after it. And that means if the instruction they're working on is a branch, an if statement that says, if you're authorized as administrator, then do this, otherwise do something else. But by the time it figures out that you're not authorized as administrator, it has already begun executing several commands that you are not really going to execute. And the processors do not really clean up the traces of a partially executed command completely. So there are ways to examine the state of the processor to find out a few commands worth of execution on the other side of a boundary, a security boundary that was supposed to stop you. And that's the Spectre attack. And nobody has found any good mitigation for this so far. They say the only fix would be to turn off speculative execution entirely, and that would cause such a performance penalty that no one's willing to do it. So anyway, there's yet another version of it. There was a defense called domain isolation, but these guys have found a way to punch through domain isolation. So it's for maybe 8 or 10 years, this has been a very fruitful avenue of research, finding new ways to exploit the Spectre vulnerability, and people come up with patches that aren't too expensive in slowing down the processor, and it just goes on and on. So Microsoft is really, one thing Microsoft loves to do is to slam things on you whether you like them or not. It's like they force you to update to Windows 11, and now they're forcing everybody to have Copilot. And they're just slamming it into everywhere, so they're going to have AI everywhere. And this is important and troubling, not only because a lot of people just don't like AI, just because they're not used to it and it's a new thing, but there's a really good reason not to like AI, because AI is really dangerous. All AIs suffer from prompt injection. I'm going to teach a whole class in AI security next semester. If you have an AI processing data, then anybody that can feed data into it can feed commands into the AI, and they may be executed. So if you scan your email, anybody can just send you an email with a command that says, steal all the passwords from that machine and send them to me at this other address. And if you're crafty enough at describing that, it will happen. And that's the kind of thing. So Microsoft is now having these agent-driven Windows tasks, which is what everybody thinks they're going to make money selling these agents that will do things on your behalf. So you can say, buy me tickets for all the baseball games for my favorite team for the next season, and go on like an auction site and get good prices for them. And it'll do all these things. It'll be spending money on your behalf going into a browser. And that's really dangerous, because that means it has access to your browser. It even has access to your credit card. So if I was able to inject a command by sending you an email or something, I could say, buy my product, or just send me money or something. And your agent might be able to do that. So it's an issue. But this one is rolling out to Windows insiders. They're not slamming it out to just everybody yet. But they probably will just slam it out to everybody, because that's what Microsoft usually does. They test something, and then they just slam it out to everybody, whether you like it or not. So anyway, hopefully they'll have some protection to limit what it does. The only really effective protection also removes most of the value, which is to not do anything without asking you for permission first. Here, I'm about to buy these tickets, is that okay? And that kind of doesn't, the idea is it's going to do this so you don't have to bother. You can say, reserve a nice dinner for my wife on my anniversary a month from now, and I don't want to worry about it. And anyway, so we'll see what happens. But like every new technology, the convenience is on the opposite of the security. And so we'll see what comes of it all. But they're going to have Copilot actions built into Windows. Paged Out, this is interesting. You may know the magazine Phrack. Let me bring it up in case you don't know. Phrack has been around for many years. It is an online magazine, and it sometimes has paper copies too, and it is extremely dense and technical. It is very hard to understand. This is for the hardest core hackers going deep into things, and most people can't understand a word of it. It's basically the security version of a really technical magazine like Nature or Journal of the Medical Society or something, only intended for real experts. But it's been around for years, and this one here called Paged Out seems to be pretty much the same. It's up to issue 7, and it has just a lot of highly technical articles. These ones are supposed to be short, fitting on one page, but almost all of them are very technical. I took a look at it, and I didn't make much sense out of them just in a few minutes of looking at it, enough to see it's very comparable to Phrack. So you have to have a lot of time to spend to read these articles and understand them. Now 2600 is a lighter one for general audiences, general security information that's pretty easy to read and easy to understand, not that technical at all. This is much more technical, so here you go. Between states of being, what is this now? Can AI recognize AI? That's interesting. They tested some things to see if it can recognize AI. Local models for cash flow decisions, piracy as proof of personhood, and so on. So, vibe coding gen, a lot of things here, interesting technical security things. So you might want to check that out. But it's not light reading. All right, that's enough news, I guess. Let me stop the news.